What's up guys? So it's the Halloween season. I'm having a blast making these horror film reviews, and today is a really special review for me because I get to talk about one of my absolute favorite horror movies of all time, and probably just one of my favorite films of all time. Talked about quite a bit of stuff on the channel, and to figure out a right time to make this video because of just how much this material means to me, and I think that it's just an incredible film. And what I'm talking about is the 1962 film Carnival of Souls from director Herk Harvey. A brief synopsis of this film: you're introduced to our lead character Mary Henry, who is in a car with a couple of friends, and this other car pulls up on them of this group of guys, and the guy challenges the girl to a race through the town. So they're racing, things are getting a little tense, and they get on this rickety bridge, and amidst racing each other on the bridge, Mary and her friend's car flies off the bridge into the water down below, and this group goes to look for them. And as soon as they get down there, Mary is the only one who comes out alive. The movie jumps forward to where events have occurred, and Mary is an organist for a church in the town that she lives in, and she decides she wants to get away, and so the church helps her find another job in Utah to be an organist out there. It follows Mary moving to this town, and some eerie things start to happen to her. Yeah, this film's from 1962. It's shot in beautiful black and white. This movie has some of the most gorgeous cinematography I've ever seen. It attributes to that overall feeling that the movie's trying to convey. And one of the things about black and white film, which, you know, there's a lot of people who think black and white is boring or unnecessary. I think black and white films are gorgeous because as a cinematographer, you can focus so much less on the color temperature, elements to like color grading, where you can focus more on lighting and shadows and the mood you're trying to convey. And this movie really utilizes all of those pieces together really well, to where there's certain shots where the light's cast on Mary's face in a certain way that makes her shock and horror in a situation feel so much more real. And the camera likes close-ups in this movie. You're really brought into Mary Henry's world because we're always so close with her and her emotions that she's feeling. That's due to Candace Hilligoss's performance. She has a very expressive face, and I think that works for this movie really well. There are scenes that she's just all alone and you have no dialogue. It's all going to be based on that performance, and she really delivers in this movie. And it's a shame that I haven't seen more with her in it. I haven't really looked into her history as an actress, but she just really gives it her all in this movie. Yeah, that's Carnival of Souls. This character, when she's driving to Utah, drives past this big structure that she's unsure of what happens, and she sees this face in the mirror, and it's this horrifying image, and it's just super simple. It's a guy with like corpse paint makeup on with some eyeliner, but just the way that the makeup is designed and the way that it's shot, it's something that's really stuck with me for a long time. It's very terrifying imagery. People have a hard time watching older horror films because they say, you know, they're pulled out of it by practical effects or things that wouldn't look as good then as they would now because of CGI and computer animation. But this movie was clearly shot on a very low budget, and Herk Harvey used the materials that he had at his disposal to make a terrifying film. And I think that, me personally, the makeup still holds up. It feels like a director's unique vision, that he used this very simple look so that the audience could really easily perceive what he was going for. Yeah, a woman being haunted by an apparition, essentially, and giving visions of this structure that has like a carnival-esque look to it. It's very beautiful. When they go there and shoot the wide open spaces and like the different geometry of the building shot in that black and white, it really gives you this feeling of elation, but engagement to where it's at because of just how dynamic all the shots are. Yeah, on the surface, that's really the film, is just a woman being haunted by this apparition, but what's really interesting is what's going on underneath the surface and the amount of themes that are being conveyed and interpretations that you as an audience member can take away. I feel like every time I watch this movie, I get something different from it. I think that one of the most fascinating dynamics of the film, especially for 1962, when the world was a much more conservative place, sadly, have Mary Henry's character, who is a church organist who doesn't care that she works in a church. To her, it's just a job. She takes a job because she loves playing the instrument, but it has nothing to do with religion, or none of that's important to her. She doesn't care. And I think it's fascinating to see her dynamic between her minister at the church and how he's constantly like, oh, you have to have a connection to the music because you have to feel the soul in it and understand where it's coming from. And I think it's interesting that Herk Harvey made this message of like, to her, it's just a job. It doesn't mean anything more or less to her. And her ability to be a strong person that can just say like, this is how I feel. I don't really care what you believe or your backgrounds. You can live your life the way you want, but I believe this certain way and I feel this way. And I think that that's really important. I also look at this movie as a depiction of mental illness. I think a lot about depression and anxiety and like just this overwhelming feeling of dread that people get. And that's a lot in the performance, but as Mary is slowly introduced to these things, she talks with her creepy neighbor across the hall. There's a period in the film where she's introduced to this psychologist, and her conversations are very deep and like not wanting to connect with other people, not having an interest to be around other people or to be needed by other people, being an independent and individual person. I think that's a really awesome and powerful message in this movie, as well as just like being an independent and strong person, and in this case being a strong independent woman. And just like in 1962, having a character that's very strong-willed, no elements of like relationship in this other than the really overwhelmingly disgusting neighbor who like feels very sexual assaulty at times, where it's just like he's so overbearing and he constantly is trying to, really has no interest. And I think there's a really great scene in it where he comes over and gives her coffee, and it's after she had horrible nightmares and visions of this place. And he comes in and they drink coffee together, and he asks her to go out later, and he comes by again, and she acts so uninterested, and he like makes a comment about, oh, but you wanted me before in the morning, and she's like, yeah, because I needed someone to be around, and then just walks away from him. And it's like that empowerment of like, yeah, I needed this in my life at this moment, but I don't need this now, just is really impressive to me. And it's something that sticks around aside from it being just a genuinely great horror film. My favorite elements to this movie is the score by Jane Moore. It's this really beautiful organ music, and it's so playfully creepy that it really carries the tone of the movie. Just the way that certain songs are introduced and brought to the forefront of the story, it's just beautiful, and it really adds to the movie for me. And I constantly find myself wanting to listen to it just to feel that same feeling that I get when I watch the film. Yeah, overall, I just think Carnival of Souls is a perfect film. Appreciation for it grows with every rewatch. Like I said, there's a lot more going on underneath the surface, and there's obviously, as an audience member, you can view yourself to it and interpret it in an entirely different way than I did. But I think that that's the coolest part about film. You watch a movie that all of us take away something different from it. Carnival of Souls is one that has stuck with me for a really long time, and I hope that if you haven't seen it, that you give it a chance and check it out. Have you seen Carnival of Souls? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Let me know in the comments down below. I really want to know what you guys think of this movie. One of my favorites of all time, and I think it's an important film in horror history that has influenced a lot of different directors, and I think it's definitely worth watching. As always, guys, I have new content coming out through the month of October. All horror affiliated for this month, and then next month jumping back into regular reviews. But as always, thanks so much for watching, guys, and have a great rest of your day.